Welcome to Half a Point, the podcast that saw Melbourne absolutely destroy the Swans. We called it here at Half a Point, got it absolutely bang on. Didn't get too much else right though, but we'll break it all down. We have justification, we have reasonings for why we went with who we went with last week. Not a great week for us last week, but as I said, we'll get into all of what was round 11, and then we'll give our best bets for round 12. But to help me break it down, I am joined by my co-host Carlton, superfan. Cass, mate, how are we feeling?
Feeling all right. You know, I think we'll talk about the records later, but we didn't do like too bad. It's not a 1-4. It's not an 0-5. So, and we're still looking good in terms of like the overall picture. So yeah, good week still.
Exactly, mate. We'll get into all of that. As a reminder, if you're new to the channel, please leave a like on this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We hit the 100 mark, so huge milestone, but we're only going to go bigger and better. So if you're one of the first 100 subs, thank you for subscribing. You're going to be part of something pretty good here. You're gonna look smart in front of your friends if you gatekeep us, though. But anyway, please leave a like on this video as well. And we're also active on TikTok, on Instagram, and also on X, where we release all our picks before first bounce, before the Thursday night game. And we're also releasing these on Spotify now as well for all those asking to put it on Spotify. Those one person.
All those, all those.
So it is on Spotify now as well. So you can find us there. So give us a follow there as well, and also a reminder to please gamble responsibly. All right, Cass, let's jump into round 11. So we're in the bye rounds in round 12 now. So as I said pre-show, I think to you, we'll have a little bit of time to talk a little about what's going to happen in round 12, and sort of digest the season so far as we're heading towards the halfway mark here. Um, but we'll get into round 11 here. So, starting off with Geelong versus Western Bulldogs, I said it was my most confident pick. Absolutely loved it. Honestly, mate, when they were down by 30, I wasn't phased at all. I was like, they're going to come back here, and they're going to run him out in the fourth. And they did, except they couldn't put it on the scoreboard. Like, they really should have won that game. I feel
Yeah.
like they play that game 100 times, they win most of the time there. But credit to Geelong as well. You can see how well coached they are. They just killed him off turnover. They did, like, I think Cameron and Neil like didn't miss. You
Mm.
feel like everything went right for the Cats and everything went wrong for the Bulldogs. Like they had so many posters. So it was a frustrating watch, but as a backer, like, yeah, I'm not going to be outcome driven. I'm going to be process driven. I'm happy with that pick. Like, yep, you didn't go my way this time. Lost a lot of money, but it's like that's the process. Like,
Yeah.
you take the percentages there.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Next up, we had Essendon and Richmond. So also another one, another bit of a disappointing one here. I think Richmond were in it pretty much up until that fourth quarter. And then just couldn't get off to a good start. I think, Essendon kicked it behind in like real quick, then followed it up with a goal, and it was just yeah piled on a bunch of points there, dominated the contest. So yeah, a bit unlucky there. One more goal and Richmond probably would have been covering. So yeah, tough luck there. Moving on to Carlton and GWS.
What's
This
going on, mate? What's going on?
as a supporter, this was one of the hardest games to watch, and I've said that like previous games this year as well, but it's just getting worse and worse. Like it's not enjoyable. It's just stress and frustration. So like yeah, hard to back this Carlton team. Yeah, don't really understand the game plan at the moment, but it is what it is. As a supporter, you just got to back them every week
Are you guys
somehow.
dead? Are you guys dead?
Yeah, I think that's season over.
Mm,
Even if you did sneak into the eight, like you're not going to achieve much. You know what I mean?
didn't
You
you have
could,
it? Didn't you have him finishing eight and winning the flag in your preseason predictions?
yeah, but that was looking a lot better than this year. That was, like having a game plan and whatnot. Also,
Yeah.
that a bit for my storyline that was. But yeah, no, it's just a tough team to watch. You don't really see them breaking into September. They're 4 wins so far. So yeah, great,
Yeah,
disgusting to watch.
probably dead. I'd say still a heartbeat, but probably dead.
Yeah,
Some of us had him finishing first though, so
some of
um,
them, some people had him winning the premiership, mate.
yeah,
So
I know. All right, whatever. We'll move on to Hawthorn versus Brisbane. So shining light here, our first win of the week.
yeah,
Not a sweat at all, really. Brisbane, I think broke away in the second quarter there with Charlie Cameron kicking three on the trot, and then yeah, Hawthorn had the opportunities. They just butchered the ball inside 50. Brisbane ended up winning by 33 points. So I called the Hawks frauds. And when I said they're gonna I bet them to miss the eight, that doesn't necessarily mean I think they're gonna miss the eight. It means that I think that based on the odds, I thought there was a greater percentage chance that they would miss the eight. So I was getting a really good odds. I still think they miss the. I still think they make the eight mathematically, but the odds I got for them to missing the eight was like too good to sort of pass up on, if that makes sense. So um, yeah, I think there's a genuine chance that this team misses the eight because there are a couple teams outside the eight who are sort of coming. Even I know Fremantle, I've called them frauds all year as well, but they're right there. Melbourne as well, and we see if maybe if one of Carlton or Sydney, I don't think either of them really have a chance. But if they get on a run, they're also a chance as well. So
mm.
definitely a live bet there. Definitely helps my cause. North Melbourne, Collingwood.
Mate, it was a good contest, eh? I
Mm.
actually enjoyed watching this game. And then in the fourth quarter, Collingwood just ran away with it pretty easily, and then managed to cover the line as well. So yeah, I mean, good job to North Melbourne. But
Yeah,
Collingwood,
but all the people complaining about like being unlucky if you're on North, I know it may have looked like a backdoor, but Collingwood were like butchering opportunities. Collingwood also had like we had so many outs, so many late outs as well.
yeah,
And you still couldn't cover 34 point spread. Like you got a really good number. It just means you're on the wrong side. If the number goes down that much and you still don't cover, you're on the wrong side. Like I don't want to hear it.
yeah.
Um,
They
Collingwood should
also
have
had
won by
about
more.
Yeah, they also had about 17 behinds, but at like 3/4 time. So it's like, kick a couple extra straight
Yeah.
and, the score difference is huge.
Yeah, exactly. So Collingwood were the right side. So both North and Richmond sort of got run out in the fourth there. So something to look out for with those types of spots. I guess we're sort of still learning how to identify those spots as well. So, but something to look out for next time. Adelaide West Coast, my sixth pick. Yay. Adelaide minus 50.5 was it? So that covered. I think it was close. I think West Coast showed up, but then Adelaide again too strong at home. It was one of those smash spots for the big favorite there. So pretty happy with that one. Yeah, didn't really go and watch the all 36 or anything like that, but yeah, good for Adelaide to get the cover there.
Yeah. We had Fremantle and Port Adelaide. So yeah, it was a bit disappointing from Port Adelaide, but I guess it's what you expect from two frauds, eh? Nah, but yeah, Fremantle just had him like everything that Port Adelaide sort of threw at him, they just had an answer for. So yeah, it was pretty tough to watch. I think I turned it off pretty early.
Yeah, man.
Um,
Yeah. Dude, like it was when like Port were dominating the first quarter, but they couldn't get it on the scoreboard, and
yeah,
even like I know, so about the Western Bulldogs game, I said they were down by 5 goals and the point spread was 1.5, but I wasn't worried. Like Port Adelaide were like sort of like within 2 points, but I sort of felt in my heart that it was a dead bet just because
yeah,
they couldn't put on the scoreboard, and you can see that they were like overwhelmed really. So
mm,
unfortunately, that trend comes to an end. Like we saw it for 2 weeks in a row. So we went 2-1, I guess, in those spots. So we take
yeah.
those every day of the week, and the fraud matchup again goes 2-1 to the underdog. So yeah, maybe better conditions, better outcome, but yeah, bad from Port there. But yeah, I accidentally skipped that one. But yeah, then moving on to Melbourne, Sydney. How huge for us.
Yeah, big win by Melbourne as well. I think like we called it as well, so love to see it. I think Melbourne were just hot the whole game. Like what was Sydney doing? They had no answers. Just a dominant performance all round. And we saw Petrarca playing like Petrarca does.
Cozzy.
Clayton, yeah, Cosy Pickett did well. Clayton Oliver did well. So yeah, you sort of see like those key players from like a few years ago, sort of stepping back up and yeah, playing real good footy.
Yeah, a couple of youngsters are looking good as well. But I think I said last week, why the hell was Sydney favourites? I did not understand it at
Yeah.
all. Usually when it's like that, you're what's wrong with the number? But then in that case, I was just like, nah. I think the public still hasn't caught up to how bad they are. Um, but yeah, I said to hit the alt lines as well, so they all cash. So that was a huge. I really really needed Melbourne in the end, and they cashed in the end. So really happy with that.
Yeah.
And then yeah, St Kilda Gold Coast. Did you get much of this?
No, I didn't. I didn't even watch this one, but yeah, I did check on it here or there. But yeah, I guess this Gold Coast just doing Gold Coast things, huh? Like even away from home, they're just dominant
Yeah.
team. So yeah, it's a scary team this one. But yeah,
Yeah,
they're
I
just looking real
guess
good.
if you're on Saints, I guess I'd probably say you're unlucky if you're on the Saints on the points. So it was probably the side. But yeah, as you see, they're not the same St Kilda this year. Like they're not covering as dogs.
Mm,
And Gold Coast for some reason covering away from home. So we see these trends sort of fluctuate from year to year. Some heavy regression I got on the Sun. So maybe you're getting a bit of market value because of how bad they were last year. So the market still doesn't trust them away from home, but they've sort of proven us wrong again and again. But as you said, as principle, we're not going to really back them as away favorites anyway.
yeah.
All right, so that wraps up round 11. So we both went 2 and 3 ATS. So dogs actually went 3 and 6 ATS. So I guess we went with 5 dogs. So the best we could have done is 3 and 2 anyway. So pretty lucky in
Mm,
the end. I feel like 2 and 3 based on what happened is a pretty good result.
yeah.
Could have been a lot worse, as you said at the start. And the dogs that did cover end up winning straight up though. So if you were on the money line, they all cash. So that's huge. So that we're both now 30 and 25 ATS. So we say professional bettors go 56% against the spread, so we're at 55%. Not too bad. We'll take it. A down week. We've been on fire leading up. We had a down week. Sorry, we'll bounce back too. Don't worry about
Yeah.
that. Just a quick season snapshot as we jump into the buy rounds here. Dogs are 48 and 50 ATS, so around about 500, which is sort of what you would expect. Last year, the dogs had a really good year, so maybe coming back down to earth a little bit. But to be 30 and 25 with the dogs being technically under 500, I think is a pretty good result. In a really good spot. This time last year, I was also 30 and 25, and so that's 5 games above 500. Ended up finishing 20 games above 500. So
Yeah.
well, I think we're at the bottom, could be the bottom of our market, and we could
Mm,
be on for a big surge here. All right, let's jump into round 12 here. Starting off with Brisbane versus Essendon, Thursday night game at the Gabba. Last time they played Brisbane were 36.5 point favorites. I think it was later on in last year, and only ended up winning by 20. This time around, Brisbane are 44.5 point favorites. Give me Essendon plus 44.5 here. I think we say it every time. Brisbane at the Gabba as favourites. Just got to fade them. I think they're 1 and 3 against the spread as favourites at the Gabba. So they only covered against the Gold Coast Suns. I think was against West Coast, against Melbourne, and against another team. I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but yeah, they just don't cover at the Gabba, especially as favorites, and they're defending the premiership here, so you're going to get a lot of value on the number here. It's so hard to back. I know how scary this sounds. Like it's so hard to back this Essendon side. Like they just been riddled with injury. I'm just gonna back them in just for this 1 week here because I feel like this is a really good number. I feel like if they're both healthy, it's probably in the 30s. You're getting a really good number. Hopefully, you get a lot of effort from the guys that are playing. Everyone's sort of just everyone. If there's a lot of injuries, people tend to just stand up for a week or two before it all sort of falls apart. So Brisbane also coming off a win, a bit of a letdown spot for them. Like sort of feeling like they'll cruise to a victory, which I think they will. But I think it's a closer game than people realize. I feel like Essendon hang around, so I think Brisbane only win by 20 points this year. So what do you think?
yep. Give me Essendon at plus 45, 44.5. Yeah, you said it perfectly. Like it's sort of hard to trust Brisbane at home at the moment. As well as that, they had a pretty good win on the road last week. So I think the line is a bit disrespectful to Essendon. 44.5. I feel like it's massive. I honestly expected this to be around 30s. So I was a bit surprised seeing it. So
Because of the
yeah,
injuries. Because of the injuries.
yeah, I
Yeah.
guess, but still 44.5 is it's just massive. But yeah, just you sort of got to hope those young blokes can just step up really. Play a bit, maybe like a bit like Richmond. Have a bit
Yeah.
of hunger for the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
And we saw what Richmond did the first week this year. Again, I had to bring it up. Anyway, the third game where Brisbane didn't cover, of course, how could I forget? It was against Collingwood where they got smashed. So
Mm.
yeah, so 1-3 ATS at home at the Gabba. Um, and I just think Essendon just for this week is a side. Am I going to be shocked if Brisbane covers here? Not really. Like it's just one of those picks you have to make though, based on the
Yeah.
numbers. Mate, covering all these spreads makes me kind of hungry.
Hmm. Should we order something from the Cake Sorority?
Ah, yes, the cake sorority, where every cake is a slice of sisterhood or brotherhood.
Whether you're celebrating a birthday, anniversary, or a glorious cover, the Cake Sorority has a perfect treat for every occasion.
Shoot them a message on Insta at the cake sorority and use the code half a point for 10% off your next order.
That's code half a point for 10% off your next order. Your spread is covered with the Cake Sorority.
All right, moving on to Friday night blockbuster Collingwood versus Hawthorn. Friday night at the G. Last time they played Collingwood were 1.5 point favourites and got embarrassed by 66 points at the MCG. This time around, Collingwood are 8.5 point favourites. Where are you going with this one?
This one was a tough one for me. So, like, I was, I kept sort of convincing myself to go with the underdog here as Hawthorn, but you just look at Collingwood in these sort of close scenarios and they just find a way. And they're putting away teams as well. So even at like 8.5, it's sort of like I think Collingwood can easily cover that. And I feel like Hawthorn, they do they have this room to sort of bounce back after a few, disappointing weeks of footy. So bit of a stay away from me, but if I had to jump on a team, I honestly would go with Collingwood at -8.5.
Very interesting, mate. Give me Hawthorn plus 8.5 and give me Hawthorn to win outright here. I know I've been like talking this Hawthorn team down for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I am a Collingwood supporter as well, but I I can't believe I'm saying this, but the hate's gone too far. Like, what is this number? I'm getting over a goal here. This Hawthorn
Yeah.
team is super healthy. Collingwood, I think the market is overreacting to all these big name Collingwood players coming back. Um, like we saw last week, the system doesn't change too much with or without the players. Like when you're handicapping, where when players get injured, you don't want to just focus on the player that's leaving. You want to focus on the player that's coming in and the difference between the two players. Here, there's the like you can't get much better than how we did last week. Does that make sense? So like.
Mm.
Um, yeah, this Hawthorn team, like the hate, I can't believe I'm saying it, but the hate's gone too far. I know last year, like the market couldn't catch up to how good the Hawthorn team was. So you'd expect regression this year, but I just think this week is an exception. My best case scenario, like you said, I think Collingwood is a really good situation. I say that almost every week. So the best case scenario is for us to win by less than eight,
Yeah.
which I think is absolutely a possibility. I'm going to be shocked if Collingwood wins this, no, but at plus 8.5, you have to be on Hawthorn. That's just way too many points over a goal. If it was under a goal, understand if you go on Collingwood, but at plus 8.5, yeah, give me Hawthorn. They're gonna be riled up here. You're gonna get a high effort game by Hawthorn after getting embarrassed last week.
Mm.
And Collingwood are just riding a huge wave. Everyone's telling them how good they are after or everyone after like half the team was out. So it's just the perfect storm really to go for Hawthorn here. So yeah, give me Hawthorn plus 8.5 here. All right, very interesting there. So I'm starting off the first two dogs. Moving on to Gold Coast versus Fremantle, Saturday afternoon game at People's First. Last time they played Fremantle were 18.5 point favorites and ended up winning by 20 at Optus. This time around, Gold Coast are 16.5 point favorites. Give me Fremantle plus 16.5 here. Like, I love the points here. I just feel like this number should be probably 12.5, and I'm sort of getting half a goal of value here. This Fremantle team is just hasn't gone away. Like I know I say they're frauds, and I do think they're frauds. I'm not picking them to win this game, but I just feel like it's a little bit too much respect for Gold Coast. I think there's also a little bit of weather about, which tends to favor the underdog because it's meant to be low scoring. But what I am really betting on this game is fading the Suns at home because they've just been getting so much respect now, and I think that this number's sort of inflated now. I think the Suns come back down to earth a little bit. I think this is a close game, really. I just think it's a coin flip game where Freo could pull off the upset, but I'm definitely taking the 2 goals, 2.5 goals, really. So, yeah, what do you think?
Give me Gold Coast minus 16 and a half. I was honestly
Ooh,
I was juggling this one between the
okay.
two. But I sort of look at how like Gold Coast played last week. They didn't they didn't play that great of a game when you look at like their standard usually, and they were still able to win comfortably by like 19 points. So yeah, having a look at that, Fremantle as well. They played such a great game last week. Left it all out there. I feel like they're bound to maybe regress a little bit, but I completely understand what you're saying as well. About like the hype of Gold Coast. It's just going a little bit too far, a bit of inflation. But yeah, I feel like I can back Gold Coast here. Um, but watch this be the round where they absolutely let me down.
Nah, I don't hate it. Like even we saw with the Sydney game where Sydney was the professional side and they got off to that really hot start against Gold Coast, but then Gold Coast had like 10 goals in a row or something, right? So
Yeah.
that really is the fear. Even that North Melbourne game, Gold Coast can go this Gold Coast team can score really quickly. Sort of like Sydney last year. And you might have the perfect read and be on the right spot. Even I was on Geelong versus Sydney last year and Geelong were up by 30 and I was catching 18 and a half and they
Mm,
didn't cover because Sydney
yeah.
just stormed home and won. So even if Free are up by 20 here, I'm not going to be confident at all because
Yeah.
Gold Coast can pile on. So I guess you're always going to be alive during this, but I'm going to take the points because I think it's going to be a close game. Fair
Yep.
enough.
Fair enough.
We're on opposite sides, so
I know.
at least the listeners can choose who to go with. All right, so moving on to GWS versus Richmond, Saturday afternoon game at NG. Last time they played, the Giants were 27.5 point favorites, but only won by 24 at the MCG. This time around, the Giants are 45.5 point favorites. We're going with this one.
This one's a bit of a stay away for me. I think just Richmond outside of Victoria haven't been doing too well. I think we've seen I think maybe 2 games where they just got absolutely flogged interstate.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a bit of a scary one, but then also GWS, they made Carlton look bad last week, but that's just because we're an absolute terrible team. So it's like, did you really do anything there? And also coming off a big win as well for GWS, are like they can take that momentum, um, for the rest of the year. So definitely one that they can take confidence out of. So yeah, if I was to go with a team here, probably Richmond as the dog. But yeah, I think it's just a bit too risky for me. So I decided to stay away from this one. What about you?
Give me the Giants minus 45.5 here. This is such a fishy number. Why is this in the 40s? As in, you can say that there's some genuine respect for Richmond here. Like, um,
Yeah.
as in, I'd expect this to be in the 50s, but so it does scare me a little bit. But I just think it's a good number to fade this Richmond team, who, as you said, isn't a good team on the road. Like all these young players, like they got smashed against Port. Looking back now, Port's not very good, and they got
Mm.
smashed, and also against Fremantle and thing in the Barossa. So um, this Richmond side, yep, we love to back them at home and they're a feisty team. But away from home, they're not that good. And also with this Giants team, they just don't seem quite right. Like they had a good win last week, but before that, they didn't really seem quite right. It seems like a nice get right spot for the Giants here. I am a little bit scared of it. It is a big number. The money's been going in the Giants' direction, but yeah, the number sort of is a little bit fishy for me. But yeah, I'm taking the Giants minus 45.5 here.
Yep.
All right, moving on to Sydney versus Adelaide. Saturday night game at the SCG. Last time they played Sydney were 21.5 point favorites at the Ooh. Oh no, in Sydney. But ended up winning by 31. I think that was round 24 last year. This time around, Sydney are 6.5 point dogs. You know what we have to do here, right? You know what we have to do? We have to go with the Swans. I'm staying away from it. I can't do it. But if you are on it, you have to be on the Swans. I know how scary that sounds based on what we saw last week, but the numbers just say like they're at home, they're coming back home, like they were embarrassed last week. They're catching points now against this Adelaide side who hasn't been that good away from home. So I feel like you have to be on Sydney if you're going to be on the side. I don't have the balls to do it. So what do you think?
Give me Adelaide. No, I'm joking. I'm
Oh my
joking.
God.
Sydney at +6.5. Absolutely. It's like you said it perfectly. Like getting absolutely embarrassed last week by Melbourne and on the road. So they're going to come back to a home game, and then yeah, Adelaide just doesn't look that great away from home. So yeah, definitely got to back the Swans here. I was going to say like if anyone picks Adelaide here, it is ballsy and probably not the right pick.
Well,
But
as in, it's easy to pick Adelaide because like they're the
it
better
is,
team,
yeah.
right? Like Sydney's, as in Sydney and putting money on Sydney and the points here is just like after what you saw last week, how are they going to cover a 6.5 point spread? But we see it every time. You just have to trust it,
Yeah,
trust it. We saw it against the Giants as well. Yeah, I think. Oh man, it's a tough pick though. Like,
it
as in,
is, yeah.
I think last week I was like, oh man, like Adelaide were catching points last week before Sydney got flogged, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to jump in Adelaide plus like 1.5 here. But then, like as soon as they switched to favourites, and I was like, am I going to have to be on Sydney here? But
Yeah.
then I couldn't. It was my sixth pick, but I can't do it. But
Yeah. And I'm sure Adelaide are gonna have plenty of people pick them.
yeah,
And you might win, but it's like it's just I
it's
just
not the
don't
long
feel like
term
that's
winner.
yeah, it's not you run it by the numbers and it's just not the right pick.
100%, man. Like at minus like 6.5, looks so juicy, right? But don't fall into
Yeah.
that trap. It's such a clear, obvious trap. Do not fall into it. You can stay away from it like me, or you can jump on it with Cast. But yeah, Sydney or nothing, definitely. Um, moving on to Melbourne versus St Kilda. Sunday afternoon game in Alice Springs, TIO Stadium. Last time they played Melbourne was 16.5 point favourites and ended up winning by 38. This time around, Melbourne are 12.5 point favourites. Where are you going with this one?
This one was such a tough one, man. I literally just snuck this into my top five. Um, and I'm going with St. Kilda at +12.5. Part of me sort of regrets it, but I think like just they had such a good win last week, and I still expect them to win. I'm not saying that they're going to lose this game, but I just think St. Kilda will be able to cover the line. But St. Kilda have been proving us wrong all year, so it's not like I'm confident about St Kilda as a dog at all. It's just that I feel like there is room to bounce back for St Kilda and room for Melbourne to regress a little bit. But yeah, I think Melbourne will come away with the win. But yeah, give me St Kilda to cover the line here.
Mate, don't regret it at all, mate. Give me St. Kilda plus 12.5 here. Absolutely love this pick. This is one of my favorite picks on the board here.
Really?
Um, yeah, man. Like, I can tell you exactly how this game's gonna go. So Melbourne's gonna have a 2 goal lead all game. And they might pull away in the third a little bit, and then St Kilda's just going to have a flurry of goals at the end, and absolutely backdoor this, and Melbourne's going to win by like under a goal. That's exactly how this game's going to happen. Like
All right,
I can see it happening.
let's see it happen. Yeah.
I can see it happening. Like I absolutely love the points. Yeah, we've said Ross Lyon and St Kilda as dogs this year have not been the team that we backed last year. But with this Melbourne team, I feel like the love's gone a little bit too far now. Like now everyone saw them smash a team at home. Now the market's sort of overreacting a little bit. Um, it is a little bit of a scary number. Like I understand why you're not confident about it at 11, 12.5. Like you feel like if Melbourne play like the way they're playing, like you feel like they can fly past this. But we see this with this Melbourne team. They don't put teams away. They are really inaccurate in front of goal. And the last team you want to do that against is the Saints and this Ross Lyon team, who I'm sure is pissed off that they're giving up points against versus the opposition in the last few weeks. It's going to be such a big defense-heavy game where Melbourne's just not going to be able to put St Kilda away. St Kilda's going to have their turn when they have a surge, and I feel like it's going to be the fourth quarter, and they're going to cover this spread for us. So I absolutely love this one. Give me St Kilda plus 12.5 here. All
Beautiful.
right. Moving on to West Coast versus Geelong, Sunday night game at Optus. Last time we played Geelong were 58.5 point favorites. I think that was in round 24 last year. And they won by 93. Absolutely dominated. This time around, West Coast are 38.5 point dogs. Um, Stay away from me. Believe it or not, Geelong actually almost made my five. Like I was almost gonna be on Geelong here. I know I get it with West Coast at home. They're a lot better. And long term, like you're gonna go with the home dog. I absolutely get it. I feel like I was trying to be too smart trying to go Geelong here, so that's why I left it out of my five. But just Geelong team was such a big game for them last week, so you can expect this to be a bit of an emotional letdown that they don't care about. They're just really well coached though, and I think they're clinical enough to cover this number. It's still in the 30s, so I like it there. Um, they're just a significantly better team that can put on a lot of goals in a row. This West Coast team, I feel like even though they're at home, it could be a little bit of a letdown. Um, as you can see, they're not really that good at all. They're a different side at home, but they weren't the side at home they were last year, where they were really good at home. This year they haven't been that great. Like Melbourne still covered as road favourites against them at home as well. So I've stayed away from it. Almost, I'm leaning towards Geelong though, minus 38.5. What do you think?
Yeah, I've gone with West Coast here at plus 38.5. Simple really. Like it's
Home
just
dog.
the home dog. Yeah, you sort
Yep.
of when you're limited to this like seven options, you sort of go with what you can. So I've gone with West Coast here. Yeah, reason being, I think huge win for Geelong last week. It was Duncan's 300th. It was Bailey Smith against his old side. And it was a shootout as well. Like what 127 to 113. That's a huge score. So yeah, they definitely left it all out there. And then West Coast just sort of need to bounce back a little bit from last week's 60-point loss. So yeah, I've gone with West Coast here. But yeah, I can understand what you're saying as well. I sort of like saw Geelong here and I was like, oh, it's not going to be a terrible pick. And like I'm sure some people will go with it, and they might come away with the cover there as well. But yeah, I just sort of had to run the numbers here and go with West Coast.
Yeah, fair enough. Like I don't hate it. Like I guess just by principle, it's a home dog, so I don't
Yeah.
hate it. But yeah, if I really think about it, I do lean Geelong. But yeah, I don't hate the pick though. All right, so that brings up the end of our round 12 best bets episode, where we've broken down all the lines here. Do you want to run through your five?
Yep. So I've got Essendon at plus 44.5, Gold Coast minus 16.5, Sydney plus 6.5, St Kilda plus 12.5, and West Coast at plus 38.5.
So four dogs in a favourite. Back to where we like it.
Yeah,
I've gone with Essendon as well. Hawthorn plus 8.5 and to win. Fremantle plus 16.5. So we're opposites on that one, so that's good. The Giants minus 45.5, a little bit scared. And St Kilda plus 12.5. Absolutely love it. So I haven't gone with the two home dogs, which is insane. Out of
Mm,
7 games, I haven't gone with the two home dogs. But Sydney, I understand it. West Coast, I'm gonna stay away from that one completely. Um, all right, absolutely love it. Short episode today, maybe. I don't know. I talked
not
for quite
sure.
a long time. Yeah, as we get into these buy rounds, we'll give some more expansive thoughts on what we think of the games. But yeah, before we wrap up, any closing thoughts, Cass?
Well, it'll be a good week of footy. Carlton's not going to lose, so looking forward to that. But yeah, see how we go.
There's going to be this graphics where it's like buy 72, Carlton 68 or
Yeah.
something like that. But yeah, very good. Yeah, hoping for a good round of footy. Thank you everyone for joining us for this round 12 best bets episode. As a reminder, please leave a like on this video and subscribe as well. And until next time, see you later.